Welcome back, guys, to another card chat video. Now, today we're going to be talking about a question that wasn't so common early on, but lately I've been getting it more and more. And I think it's actually a good sign because I think there's a lot of investors really coming into the Final Fantasy TCG scene, which some people may not like, but especially like Magic the Gathering people who hate the investors. But I actually think it's a really good sign for the growth of the game. So the question is, should you invest in Final Fantasy TCG sealed product? I used to never get this question, but lately I've been getting it at least once a week where someone says like, hey, I have an opportunity to buy a couple of boxes or cases of Opus whatever. Do you think I should jump on it? Do you think it's going to go up in value? And I actually thought about it for quite a while because that's a really tough question to answer. Now, to make things clear, to kind of show you where I fall on the spectrum, I generally do not buy or store sealed product as an investment vehicle. Now, I do make some exceptions. I do have a case of, I think, Opus 1 somewhere in the basement, but in general, I don't buy cases of sealed product in bulk like some other people do in other card games. That often turns out to be very, very lucrative, especially in like Magic the Gathering, where sealed boxes almost always tend to go up in value, albeit slowly. I mean, realistically, you could get the same returns just by putting it into like an index fund, but in Magic the Gathering, it does tend to be very lucrative. If you get the right box, sometimes very, very lucrative. Just remember that there are always fees when you try to sell it. But going back to Final Fantasy TCG, should you invest in sealed product? Right now, my opinion leans towards no. So I've talked to many, many people in the Final Fantasy TCG community, and I've heard many different things. Some of them say that some of the Opus sets are officially out of print, even though they never made an official announcement to that effect. But the thing is, when I look online and stuff, like I see retailers having restocks, I see like them popping back up on Amazon, things like that. So it kind of makes me wary because I'm not sure if that's true. Not that I don't trust these people, but you got to keep in mind that with nothing official, they're telling you things that they've heard, and sometimes it's easy to assume that they're authorities on the subject or something, but really they're just telling you something they heard. Maybe they have a friend at a distributor or something and they said they're not printing anymore. But until something is official, all of these, I'm assuming, are still in print. And investing in things that are still in print is very, very dangerous. Now, on the flip side of that, trying to invest in something after it's out of print also means you lose out on a lot of returns because while it's in print, boxes are always cheap. But as soon as the announcement comes out that it's out of print permanently, I guarantee you all of these sets will skyrocket in value. Let's say they say Opus 5 is out of print. Anyone who has a box will know they can just hold on to it and the value will slowly go up over time. So it's kind of a gamble, but all of you who have been following my channel know I love gambling, I love speculating, but to me that's still too much of a gamble even for me. Now, undoubtedly it will eventually go out of print. I don't think anyone's denying the fact that they won't print these forever, right? It doesn't make any sense to print them forever. But the thing is, Square Enix did say in the past that they would print these to demand. And what exactly does that mean? Because if that means that they plan on printing it until they think every customer who wants it has a copy, then that's very dangerous because that means that basically they'll just not print it for a while, and then as the customer base for Final Fantasy TCG rises, they'll just reprint it again. For those of you who are familiar with Pokemon, you might, I want to say it was called Roaring Skies. I think they had a reprint of that, and so many people got demolished by that. And I apologize if that wasn't the right set, but I think it was Roaring Skies, where a lot of people thought it was a popular set. They bought a bunch of boxes of it, they thought it was out of print, and then suddenly they just decided to reprint it. And the value of the box is basically tanked overnight. And that's the kind of thing that's very dangerous unless the manufacturer of the card game makes it very clear. Like Wizards of the Coast is actually, I mean, for all the criticism they get, they're pretty good with this. Generally, when they say something is out of print, it's actually out of print. Everyone knows about the reserved list, whether you love it or hate it. I mean, it's there, and they've generally been very good about adhering to their rules in terms of printing and stuff. So if you choose to buy a bunch of cases of Final Fantasy TCG, just keep in mind that you're taking a very, very big risk with potentially very great rewards. But a lot of people like to ask me what I would do. I personally do not invest in any Final Fantasy TCG sealed product because I think I can get better returns more safely by just buying limited print promos and things like that. I don't want to take the risk of having hundreds of cases of Final Fantasy TCG cards in my basement. Also, I run the risk of like, what do I do if it gets flooded or something? So those are kind of, unlikely events, but always something you should factor. All my cards are waterproof and somewhat flame proof. I mean, I think if my house burns down, I have bigger problems than my card collection anyway. So yeah, I mean, by all means, if you are extremely risk tolerant, then go ahead and stock up on these things. But again, I don't recommend it. And another thing I want to mention is that the prices of booster boxes have actually been dropping over time. And this is really no surprise, right? So typically when a booster box comes out, to get it at like a retailer, it's like $100. I mean, if you get it on Amazon on launch day, it'll probably be like $90. You can right now buy all of these things for $64 to $69 on Amazon. There are a lot of sellers on Amazon. That's actually cheaper than what I paid for these when they came out. These are opened boxes, by the way. So the prices of sealed product for Final Fantasy TCG for every single Opus, except I want to say Opus 1, has dropped significantly in value. I definitely know that Opus 5 was reprinted, by the way, a few months back. I don't know if they're still printing it, but there have been reprints of these sets. So the fact that the prices of even old sets who have came out over a year ago aren't going up, they're dropping, that's kind of a risky sign in terms of how much demand there is for this product. And I really have to advise against buying, because if you bought a case of any of these sets, none of these are Opus 1, I think. No, none of these are Opus 1. So if you bought a case of any of these when it first came out, right now you actually lost money, and it's been 1 to 2 years since their release. Now, of course, I always say when it comes to investing, you have to look at like a minimum 5-year time span. And I'm sure in 5 years, it'll probably go back up, assuming that, this game still exists, which is still an if. So, I mean, yeah, the evidence would show that buying a bunch of sealed product, particularly since a case is going to run you anywhere from like $400 to $600, probably not a good idea. Now, I did say before that I have invested in some sealed product, so let me tell you some sealed product that did work out. Now, if you watched my other videos, you know my philosophy on investing. I don't like investing in anything that is not officially out of print. Now, what is one sealed product in Final Fantasy TCG that once it's out of print, it's forever out of print? Pre-release kits. Pre-release kits are, to my knowledge, the only Final Fantasy TCG product, and they don't look sealed, but they are. The only way you could tell is the camera focus is this little sticker right here. Sealed product in Final Fantasy TCG, the only one that's officially out of print, are pre-release kits. If you try to find, these are the first two. So Opus 4 was the first set that came out with a pre-release kit. 1, 2, 3 didn't have them. These are the only ones that they'll never print again, because you can't pre-release the same Opus multiple times. It doesn't make any sense. So these are kind of cool because why? Like if they have like errata and they change cards and you buy a pre-release kit, you're guaranteed to get the first printing of the booster packs. You also get the promotional cards that were with the pre-release kits, and obviously the only way to get those pre-release promos was to buy one of these kits. So those promotional cards are print limited to the number of pre-release kits created. As far as I know, this was the only way to get pre-release cards. Maybe they gave a few out at events, but I don't think so. I've never heard of that before. Feel free to correct me if you know of cases where they gave out extra pre-release cards for free. And I don't mean the LGS owner cracking these things and giving out the cards. I mean Square Enix actually sending an LGS dozens of pre-release cards without the kits. So these I have a bunch of because I actually think these are sound investments. Again, anything that's permanently out of print, I like investing in it. I like the idea. And for the record, this has been a pretty profitable investment for me. I bought a couple dozen of these Opus 4 pre-release kits from a store that just had them because no one showed up to their pre-release event. I think I paid on average about, I want to say, $17 a box for these Opus 4 pre-release kits. They're not like flying off the shelves, but I will say that I've sold several for $100. So, from $17 each and selling it for $100. Now, with shipping, eBay fees, whatever, I actually end up netting like, I want to say 80 flat, but still 80 minus 17, pretty good return, right? That's like 3 times my money. So these pre-release kits have actually turned out to be a pretty solid investment for me. I mean, if you think about it one way, if I continue to sell these at $100, I get a free booster box of future Opuses for free. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say all sealed product is bad, but if you follow my typical investing philosophy, don't invest in things unless they're number one, out of print, or number two, you have very accurate information that it's going to be very soon out of print. If you can get that information, that's the best time to do it before the prices skyrocket. Because anytime a manufacturer says something is out of print, literally minutes after that announcement is made, it starts going out of stock everywhere. People will start buying up every single copy that they can at a reasonable price because they just know that value is going nowhere but up. So if you can get some inside information, like you have a friend distributor or someone working at Square, that's the best way to do it. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay a little bit of markup as all the stores start jacking up prices as they realize what's going on. Because the first few they sell, they'll just be like, oh, I guess someone wanted it. But once it keeps starting going out of stock, they're going to notice something's going on and be like, oh, it's out of print. I can charge more for this now. So, yeah, I mean, some sealed product is good, but again, I recommend waiting until these things are formally out of print. Otherwise, I would say do whatever your heart tells you, but just keep in mind that it's extremely risky, and definitely keep in mind that I recommended that you not do it. In 10 years, if there's someone with like 1,000 cases of FFTCG in their basement and each booster box goes up to like $500 and they retire on it, you can laugh at me and whatever, good for you, but I'm personally not doing that. I am not sitting on hundreds of boxes of Final Fantasy TCG. I do have thousands of cards, all limited run cards, mostly promotional cards. So anyways, I think that kind of covers that topic. I hope that kind of answered your questions on my personal thoughts on investing in Final Fantasy TCG sealed product. And again, this is specific to Final Fantasy TCG and some other TCGs. I think sealed product is a slam dunk. For example, Magic the Gathering Ultimate Masters, if you were able to buy a bunch of sealed boxes of that, slam dunk. I think prices have doubled already. It's not even that old. What is it, like 4 months old or something? Certain things, sealed product is a slam dunk, but that's when you know that it's a limited run product already. None of these are limited run products except the pre-release kits. So again, Ultimate Masters, there was a limited print run. That's why the price escalated so quickly, because they launched it with the intention of making a limited run product. Always know the supply of the thing before you invest in it. Supply and demand is always going to effectively be the thing that determines the price. So invest with caution when it comes to FFTCG boxes. Anyways, if you guys have any more questions, just leave them in the comment section below as always. And thanks for watching, and good luck on your investing efforts if you choose to do it anyway. Take care, guys.